Welcome, goddesses, to Book Break. All of the recommendations in this video are for you, no matter which of the goddesses you are, because I am very excited about the release of the latest Natalie Haynes book, Divine Might. This is a new non-fiction book from Natalie Haynes, who is my queen of Greek myth retellings. This is a non-fiction all about the portrayal of goddesses in Greek myths. It's divided into 8 chapters, focusing on 8 different goddesses or groups of goddesses, and we have these gorgeous tarot cards here, one for each of the goddesses. And so, in this video, I'm going to help you work out which one you are and then recommend a book for you. And Natalie Haynes' word on this is gospel. She is the expert. Natalie Haynes is the author of incredible fiction like 1,000 Ships, Children of Jocasta, and most recently Stone Blind. And I will link below to a couple of videos where I've raved about her writing. And she's also the author of non-fiction books from Pandora's Jar to her latest Divine Might. She's such a great writer. She's really witty, really entertaining, and she is just so knowledgeable. So it's the perfect place to learn more about the Greek myths and, relevant to today, about the Greek goddesses. So once you've figured out which of the goddesses you are, you obviously should read Divine Might to learn more about yourself. So let's pick at random which goddess we're going to start with. This is Hera. Well, that's a good place to start because she is literally the queen of the gods. So Hera is, it goes without saying, super powerful. She is the goddess of marriage, women, and family. And you might be Hera if you are quick to anger and sometimes do things you regret, but you're also strong, fiercely loyal, and loving, even when people make themselves quite hard to love. And you're also not ashamed of your power, so if other people don't like it, that's their problem. And so the book I recommend for you, Hera, is She Who Became the Sun by Shelley Parker Chan. This is a book about fierce, powerful, ambitious people who are not remotely ashamed of their power. It's a historical fiction retelling. It's got some fantasy elements. It's set in 14th century China, and it's this kind of gender-swapped, gender-fluid reimagining of the rise to power of the first emperor of the Ming dynasty. So it's a really fun, really high stakes, really gripping, epic story. Okay, which of our goddesses shall we look at next? This is, the Furies, a group of goddesses. The Furies, there are 3 Furies. They are the goddesses of vengeance. So they pursue the wicked across the earth in pursuit of retribution. And you might be a Fury if you are fierce and furious and no one gets in your way. If you want something, you get it. You are loyal to the people you care about, but if someone gets on your bad side, they better watch out. So for you, you scary little creature, I'm going to recommend The Harpy by Megan Hunter. This is a sort of dark fairy tale. It's about a woman whose husband has betrayed her, and so they come to a deal that she is allowed to get her revenge. She is allowed to hurt him 3 times. In ways that he will not see coming. So it's a story all about revenge, but it's also got this sort of mythological element because the woman, as she starts enacting her revenge, she also starts going through a change herself, a sort of metamorphosis into something a little bit closer to a fury, let's say. Okay, our next goddess is going to be Athene, or Athena, depending on how you pronounce it. She is one of my favorites. Athene is the goddess of wisdom, war, and crafts. And you might be Athene if you have a very quick, clear mind. You might be the person that your friends go to with their problems. You value calm communication over raised voices, but that doesn't mean that you're a pushover. In fact, you are a force of power. So I think you might like to read The Women Could Fly by Megan Giddings, which is all about a woman embracing her power. This is a dystopian feminist story set in a world where magic is real, where witches are real, but where you do not want to be suspected of being one. Our main character Jo is a mixed race, bisexual young woman whose mother disappeared many years before under suspicion of being a witch. So in this dystopian world, Jo has a lot of suspicion pointed at her. So this is a really empowering story about stepping into your power and your magic, and I think Athena would love it. And so will you. Next, let's look at the Muses. Okay, I'm slightly cheating on this one because I do have 2 books to suggest. So the Muses are very interesting. They are the goddesses of arts, crafts, literature, science, and they are relied upon by artists and thinkers to grant creativity and knowledge. So you might be a muse if you're happier in a group, you're really close to your friends, you're very creative and your passion for life inspires people around you, and you're very happy to sit back and let your friends shine, though you do expect to be thanked by them in their award speech. So there is a very obvious book I could recommend here, and that is The Muse by Jessie Burton, which is a really brilliant book and is about art and about inspiration and the concept of a muse. So I do feel like that'd be a great recommendation. And it's a cracking read. It's historical fiction, it's got dual timeline, it's set between London and Spain, it's an absolute page turner. But I also didn't want to be too guessable, so I have gone with another recommendation as well, and that is Spirits Abroad by Zen Cho. This is a short story collection, and the stories are all kind of inspired by retelling East Asian and Malaysian myths and folklore. And the stories are so imaginative and so sparkling that it's like they were inspired by the Muses themselves. Okay, we're halfway through. Aphrodite! This is a good one. So Aphrodite is the goddess of love, beauty, sexual pleasure, and fertility. And you might be Aphrodite if you are always the most beautiful person in any room you walk into. If you love freely, whoever you want and whenever you want. If you might have a bit of a spiteful streak, but it's just because you're used to getting your own way. And that perfectly describes the character of Parisa in the Atlas 6 by Olivia Blake. So this is my recommendation for all you Aphrodites out there. You're going to love her. This is a fantasy story about 6 magicians competing for just 5 spaces in a mysterious magic society. So it's really got that element of competition and rivalry that you find in a lot of Greek myths. And here is a picture of Parisa, who is basically Aphrodite. Then there is Demeter. Demeter is the goddess of harvest and agriculture. She is said to have created the seasons herself, and she's worshipped as a maternal figure. So you might be Demeter if you feel at home in nature, if you have a natural green finger and you love to explore the world. And you're also very, very protective of the people that you care about, especially people more vulnerable than you. I was really pleased with this book recommendation. I think it's particularly perfect. The Lost Flowers of Alice Hart by Holly Ringland is a book that has recently been adapted into a TV show. I'm currently watching it on Amazon Prime and it is very, very good. It's got Sigourney Weaver in it. It's very cool. This is a book set in Australia, and it is about a girl growing up into a young woman who has experienced this incredible trauma, which I won't spoil for you, but she comes from an abusive family. Something terrible happens to her quite early on, and she ends up being raised by her grandmother, who runs a home for abused women. And the main character, Alice, is so traumatized by her past that for a lot of the book she can't speak, and so she uses flowers and the language of flowers to communicate. So it is a book really set in the heart of nature, and it's really about looking after vulnerable people and finding your strength, growing through nature. It's a lovely book. I actually made a whole video about the language of flowers a few years ago when this book first came out, so I'll link to that below. I think this is a perfect recommendation for all of you Demeters out there. Okay, just 2 left. Let's see which one we're gonna do first. Let's go with Hestia. Hestia is the goddess of the hearth, the home, and family. You might be a Hestia if you are really nurturing, loving, and empathetic. You love welcoming people to your home for food, warmth, and comfort. You're low-key, you prefer to stay under the radar, but that doesn't make you any less valued by those around you. So for you Hestias, I want to recommend The Minuscule Mansion of Myra Malone by Audrey Burgess, which is a really lovely, gently magical story about an enchanted dollhouse. The main character, Myra, is a woman who is afraid to leave her attic. She runs a blog where she blogs about this miniature doll's house that she has and that she creates furniture for and fills and decorates, and her blog is really quite widely beloved, but nobody knows that she herself never leaves her attic room, and also that the doll's house is magical, which is not something she reveals on her blog, because what her followers don't know is that sometimes Myra will go to sleep and wake up and find that a whole new room has appeared or even disappeared from inside the house. What follows is a really gentle, lovely story about friendship and about love, and also about this magic that is passed down from within this home. So it's really about the magic that is found in one's home and in your family. Whether that's family through your bloodline or found family is just as important. So our final goddess is Artemis, who is the goddess of chastity, the moon and the wilderness, and she is considered the protector of young women and of animals. So you might be an Artemis if you are wild at heart, if you love being outside, and if you refuse to bow to convention. You are in touch with your feminine side, and you are more comfortable, honestly, with animals than you are with most people. So for Artemis, I had to recommend Open Throat by Henry Hoke, which is narrated from the perspective of a mountain lion. This is definitely a book about challenging convention and challenging what we know, because it looks at humans and what we have done to each other and to the planet from the perspective of a creature from nature. It brings a whole new way of looking at humanity. It's a really witty book, it's a really fun, easy to read book. It's also beautifully written. It will take you no time at all, and it's a book that you'll want to read more than once because it's so powerful. And also another great little connection here is that the lion is later in the story named Hecate, after Hecate, who was another Greek goddess, but one that kind of over time during the Roman era was sort of blurred in together with Artemis. So the perfect connection there. So let me know in the comments below which of those goddesses you think you are. Like I said, Athene is my favourite, but I think I might be a bit of a Hestia myself. And of course, do pick up a copy of Divine Might by Natalie Haynes to learn more about all of these incredible goddesses, learn their stories, learn about how they've been portrayed in different myths. Natalie Haynes knows it all. I will link here to the video I mentioned about the lost flowers of Alice Hart and the language of flowers. And if you liked this video, you might like this video recommending books for different star signs. And I'll see you next time.